reports.
SAMU Provincial Secretary Mpho Tladinyane has promised massive labor action if the city of Joburg does not take concrete steps in addressing corruption by its officials. Tladinyane has made a number of accusations against the municipality and its senior officials. He says he has engaged with the political leadership of the city over his claims.
If these matters are not addressed by the end of April, you will then see what will then happen. What happened at M2? Is it M2 or M1? M1, yeah. At that particular day will be nothing. We don't enter into a battle that we can't win.
The union has shared the evidence of alleged corruption with Eyewitness News. Eyewitness News also understands that the matters are being investigated by the city's Group Forensic Investigation Services. Thabiso Goba, Eyewitness News, Joburg.
And there are slight changes in the prices of petrol at midnight, but major decreases for diesel and paraffin. The Energy Department says petrol will see a 1 and 2 cents decrease per litre, while the two grades of diesel will decrease by 73 and 74 cents respectively. Here's the department's spokesperson, Robert Make.
The main reasons for these decreases are mainly the average Brent crude oil prices, which decreased during the period under review, and this led to lower prices of all petroleum products.
A cloudy start for Wednesday, tomorrow becoming partly cloudy in the afternoon. Joburg dropping to an overnight low of 10 degrees, peaking at 22. Pretoria 13 and 24, Vereeniging 11 and 24 as well. Lerato Huffela, Eyewitness News.
Eyewitness News on 947. For more, click ewn.co.za.
#MSW. You may begin to feel anxious or excited. Honest, deliberate, engaging, uncensored. High dosage administration can cause adverse reactions. And most importantly, independent in mind. This is a normal response. Are you ready? Marawa Sports Worldwide.
Great result. Nati joining us in Newcastle, wanting to talk about Atazwane. Are you happy with how he's handled things and Kaizer Chiefs so far?
45%.
Tell me why.
Number one, to me, it seems as if we don't have natural centre-back. Or Mr. One is not using them.
#MSW.
Kevin and Rob, my reaction Monday is on the statement that was put out by Marumo Gallant today. And for me, I always look at the root causes, Rob, and ask myself, do we do enough to vet the financial status of the people who are buying PSL statuses?
Changing and re-engineering sports on the continent and the world.
You know, the Chelsea fans themselves have been pretty divided on who should take charge at Stamford Bridge following Graham Potter's departure to take over. Let's have a quick listen.
Well, I think it needed to happen. Bad results, team not playing well.
I mean, to be fair, I wasn't surprised. For me, preferably Zidane. I heard that it's going to be Nagelsmann, but I don't know if that's the right fit.
Robert Marawa, live on 947. Vuma FM, Rise FM, and Sowetan Live. #MSW.
It's already turned out to be a dramatic day on the local football front, but there's still plenty to chat about as you listen to us right here on Marawa Sports Worldwide. Good evening and welcome to the show. Live at 947, you're live on Rise FM. To the continent and the world, good to have you on board. You can send your questions because we've got two great guests who are going to be here in studio. 060-708-0484, 060-708-0484. Certainly try and zoom through this because, yeah, one is story, but we'll try and plaster it all together. I mean, it might have seemed like, or as they would say, that the apple didn't fall too far. Daddy's one of the most decorated coaches in the Premier Soccer League, 4 times winner of the Premiership title at Supersport United, Bidvest Wits as well. Passionate beast on the touchline if you've seen him coaching. Inspiring, you know, what Dad is. And I suppose so much so that she too wants to become a coach. A long way to reach Daddy's feet, but hey, she's kicking things off with the entry-level D license, and we all of coaching holds for Caitlyn. Good to see you. Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me, Rob.
Just taking a big, bold step. I mean, there you were. We were seeing all of these photos flying around yourself. It's also funny, Madida's son also being there, and you were there. So almost automatically, there's a history that you can write from just one single picture. Your presence, maybe slightly on them, because they're not here to represent themselves.
Yeah, I mean, I do the software D course, but I had no idea that they, I just arrived there on day one and I just looked to my left and I looked, and then Fani's son came to me and we just started putting two and two together as well. So it was strange. Like coaches, our backgrounds didn't really come in.
Though, what was it like? Just the induction, seeing about what the improve what their coaching badges might have, and maybe.
Yeah, so obviously the whole go the soft away and do the course, but we went on there and it's so nice to see so many coaches wanting to further themselves in the coaching, the coaching world, and that's exactly what I wanted to do myself, and that's, obviously everyone had different reasons for being on the course, but my aspiration was I want to coach, I want to educate myself, I want to. Coaching stems from watching games, being around my dad, but there's more I wanted to add to my coaching knowledge.
I mean, having spoken to a number of people, or at times they feel, oh man, I just wish he wasn't my dad, in a way. Ads being the daughter of the highly successful South African coach called Caitlyn Hunt. How does that, the highs and lows? And I know that you were very vocal when he was at Kaizer Chiefs and things were not turning right for him. Pedestal now, because you trying to weigh up your personal feelings, where and how that sits with you.
Yes. Coached, we've said it many times, and I've always said to him, I will support him through everything. I'm there as a supporter and I try, go to the games. I'm there to help him. But, when it comes to all the other things, I try not to comment too much on it, It does affect, his job, and you got to just be careful what you say. I like to comment on football and I like to have an opinion as well, which I do vocalize on social media. He is my dad, first of all, but the conversation is based a lot around football and what do I think, what do you think, which is nice nowadays. We do chat a lot about football, and now the coaching has come into it now, like what do you think, how would you do this, and we're not trying to talk about too much about him on social media, but more about myself. As I said, I'm just starting out as a coach, so I want to try build a base, and I'm starting at the very bottom and at the beginning, so I look up to him a lot and what he's done, but I'm trying to write my own journey. And
your journey has been written. As short-lived as it is, hockey plays a very big role in what you've done before. You've been able to coach, you've been able to earn and get awards in terms of your lay ahead, or was it always going to be obvious? Dad was at Hellenic, you went the Hellenic route, which is important because from a family perspective, we all grew up watching Hellenic. It might not be existing in the professional ranks as it was back then, but how important was it for you in what I would call the baby steps of coaching to really start there?
So at Hellenic, bless him, he's not here to this day, but Hellenic is so driven with the youth, and he really drives the development of the youth. And that's why I really saw different youth development structures and how we get kids through the ranks. We see kids from Hellenic that have come through the ranks and are playing in the PSL to this day, and that's where I really saw youth development, which is why I went on SAFA D, and because SAFA D focused on a lot of the grassroots level and youth development, and Dad Budgie Byrne, you
Yes.
also know him very well. So, I mean, the coaching side has been on him. I've had it with my dad, my uncles. The coaching has just been everywhere. So I kind of feel like I was drawn to the coaching in a way. As I said, I did study a different path in university, but I mean, something is pulling me towards coaching and I don't want to shut it out yet. I want to explore that option and see what I can offer. That's why I'm starting where Yes.
That is your leadership. But, when you talk about, Budgie Byrne, you talk about the old days and you talk, it would have been a crazy family where football was the language, whether on or off the field, it would be carried back home. And when you start to structure your journey as a coach, are you willing to break those barriers where with you that you would go, let's say the Desiree Ellis route, where you're coaching the ladies, as opposed to these opportunities where you could coach literally anyone, including a professional team in the Premier Soccer League. What do you envisage for yourself?
At the moment, I mean, I'm not like limiting myself to an age group or females or males. I'm kind of just seeing what happens, and I'm open to coaching both male or female, any age group. But you're always leaning towards female soccer a bit. It's become so big and there's so much emphasis on it lately. And, you kind of want to emphasize women in sport and women playing sport. Girls to play, at the younger level, you see all the boys playing, but you want the girls to play. You want to be part of the coaching journey, so that's where I don't want to limit myself yet, but you always do lean a bit to the female side and, coaching women. And so we'll see.
They say that the women's sport right now, especially within Banyana, they're doing way better than we would imagine their male counterparts to be. Maybe at times a bit unfair to make the comparison, but you see who qualifies, who becomes African champions. You see where we don't qualify, we can't even qualify for our own continental competitions, and it becomes problematic. So how would you dissect that? Where do you think problems in SA football lie?
It's always hard, making the comparison between female and male it's very tricky, especially in our country. But I've always said national teams and countries, they base your country off your football and your national team. So if we look at our country, we look at Bafana and that's how we measure our football. We say, why do countries want to play friendlies against us? Because of how Bafana's doing. And obviously Banyana's, they've been so successful and they've been doing things so well. And obviously there's flaws in that, but we want to qualify for AFCON, we want to qualify for big tournaments. So I just think, qualification is a start. And yes, there are flaws and, but we've got to look at the positives. We've got to back, our national sides, both female and men, we've got to support them, and then the rest kind of falls into place,
So you're not surprised by just how many female players are now plying their trade overseas and in numbers, but also playing for the big teams. You can be playing overseas, but if you're not playing for regular high-profile teams, then maybe people don't really take you seriously that much. But you look at the composition of the senior women's team, a lot of them are just out of the country, but doing magical things with big teams as well. What do you think you attribute that to, and them being more in terms of number as opposed to seeing the same within Bafana?
Yeah, I just think, with the women's game, it's up and coming. It's just so relevant at the moment. And I just think Banyana, because of their success, the women are just getting a look in from all different sides of the country. The world. People just want to see, those players playing all over the world. And I don't know, maybe it's due to the brand of football that they're playing and, the emphasis Desiree has on it. But I don't know, it's tricky. Bafana, there's not a lot of players that are playing overseas, and you can nail it down to a lot of things. But I just think because of how the national team is doing, then the female players automatically they get a look in from overseas clubs. So if you look at Bafana, you kind of got to look at the same thing. How are they doing? Are clubs looking at them overseas? That's kind of what I put it down to.
Yeah, and just the revolving door that we see at times where coaches aren't even given much of a fair chance. Or even a platform to coach too many games and they get given the boot. An example, we just dealt with an AmaZulu case today. You move from coaching to a technical advisor. We've seen plenty of times, whether it's a Chippa United or other clubs as well, really fire their coaches without cementing a footprint at those clubs. Does that deter you at all to say, oh my goodness, would I be part of that? Or is it just seen as an international trend like we've seen with Potter overseas and, just the other day also Leicester City saying goodbye to their coach as well with Brendan Rodgers. So but it seems more like in South Africa, you're not given too much of a chance by the hierarchy or the chairman of the clubs that run it. They're almost like they want instant results. What's your take on that?
I think in South Africa with football, time is something you don't have. There's no like long-term plan. There's no like, this is how we foresee ourselves in the next 4 or 5 years. It's always like we want immediate results. We want trophies now. We want good players now, where, sometimes overseas they allow you the time, they allow you to settle in, they allow you to bring about your own philosophy and your own method of coaching. And, also overseas you get your own coaching staff as well. You can take people with you that, back you on your journey. Here, I think they want immediate gratification. We want trophies now. We want to, there's no long-term plan or long-term philosophy or, my philosophy should be applied over 4 or 5 years. It's like, okay, 1 year, you haven't won a trophy, you're gone. And it's hard. As I said, I've been on the other end of it where you've seen how it affects you emotionally. It's not easy, because you go in there with a plan of 3, 4, 5 years and this is what I want to do with the club, and you don't get the opportunity, you don't get the time. So, coaching is hard. It does want to put you off a bit. It does make you not want to coach, but, you just got to back yourself and believe in your own philosophy and what you can do at a club. And, if the owners don't align with you or they don't believe in you, then it is what it is. But, time is something which you don't have. That's why you need to know yourself as a coach. You need to know your philosophy and know what you want to do at a club. Yeah,
when you talk about a philosophy, it just reminds me of a very simple question that looking at global football, or even here locally, which is that one coach that you would say you identify with their philosophy based on how that particular club plays?
Rob, you're going to make me be biased here.
Please be as biased as you can.
I have to say my dad. I've just always, he has a particular style of playing. Every club he goes to, he identifies certain players. He has a plan. We all know he plays a certain way. He wants a specific type of player, and he sticks to it. It's look at SuperSport now. It's working quite well. Other clubs maybe it didn't, but I just think he knows the way how he plays and how he wants to play, and he sticks to it. I don't think he changes from his philosophy or he doesn't change a certain player. We all know SuperSport how he played with wingers and this way and this way. We know how he plays, so I just think he sticks to it quite well, and he backs his own philosophy very well. Sometimes it does get hard at clubs and you don't have the backing or you don't have the players, but if you stick to philosophy and the way of playing, and the biggest thing is players backing. If you got the players backing, you can succeed. So I'm going to be biased here, Rob, and say my dad.
That's a good bias because he's got the track record.
Yeah.
So if you were telling us about a coach that has not even won a goat or a sheep, in a little Gussie tournament somewhere, then we would know that, come, Caitlyn, please pull the other one on us right now. So at least you got somebody that has a proper track record. So when we come back from the break, we'll take our final moments with Caitlyn because, there's highs and lows of football, as she has indicated. Johnny Ferreira is my guest straight after that. Oh, yeah. It's only going to get hotter.
Marawa Sports Worldwide Live. In 3, 2, 1. On 947, Vuma FM, Rise FM, and Soweto Live. #MSW.
Do you with the revamped Suzuki Espresso, now with exciting new features. Do cool tech with a new generation touchscreen that connects you to Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. Do class-leading safety, which adds ESP and ISOFIX to the already impressive ABS, EBD, and dual front airbags. Do fuel efficiency with engine auto stop-start technology. Do you in the Suzuki Espresso from only 162,900. Contact your nearest Suzuki dealer to book a test drive now. T's and C's apply.
Get tested this April at Specsavers and we'll give you a free optical frame up to the value of 1,000 Rand. That's right, get a free frame up to the value of 1,000 Rand when you purchase a comprehensive eye examination at Specsavers. Book online at specsavers.co.za or visit your nearest store nationwide. Remember, it's important to get your eyes tested every 24 months. Specsavers, for affordable eye care and a whole lot more. T's and C's apply.
Save big on fresh at Food Lovers Market with Big Deal Wednesday. Buy a nachi tray for only R29.99 and get another one absolutely free. That's a tray of juicy nachos for just R29.99 and another one free. Now that's incredible value. Valid this Wednesday only at all inland food lovers market stores. The best in fresh, guaranteed.
DCI John Luther, you're a disgrace to the department. Your reckless, violent and obsessive ways are the reason you're behind bars. Now you have a chance to clear your name. Are you finally ready to talk, Luther? Luther!
The wait is finally over. Idris Elba returns as London's most infamous detective in the most anticipated action-packed film of the year, Luther, the Fallen Son, streaming 10th of March exclusively on Netflix.
Lotto Stars Aviator is here to launch your millionaire dream. Place your bets now and watch them get multiplied. Bet on how high the plane will fly and make sure you cash out before it flies away. You could win a payout of up to 2 million rand in seconds. Lotto Star, your world of live games.
Lotto Stars, licensed by the Mpumalanga Economic Regulator. No under 18s. National Responsible Gambling Program. 0800 006 008. T's and C's apply. All games are fixed odds betting events.
Just handle exit.
When I need on-the-go relief from a painful sore throat, I use Andalex C lozenges. It kills viruses and bacteria, reduces inflammation, and gives my mouth a burst of fresh flavor. Andalex, SA's #1 choice for a sore mouth and throat. Andalex C lozenges are available at all leading pharmacies and supermarkets.
Just Andalex it.
Previously on Marawa Sports Worldwide.
Now head all the way through to London, where we are joined by sports writer and broadcaster at Haters Teamwork. That is Jerry Cox. Pretty strange, the fact that Potter lasted as long as he did.
Yeah, I think Chelsea fans for a long time were saying, get this man out of our club, he's out of his depth, he doesn't know what he's doing. But the results just weren't coming. I think the last two games just looked like they were going backwards again, and they just pulled the plug on him at Chelsea. Yeah, players get booed off as they have been at Stamford Bridge recently. Then they all start turning on, and you know what happens is one man usually gets the bullet, and it's the manager.
Another one bites the dust. Another one gone. Another one gone. Another one bites the dust.
#MSW. #MSW.
Yeah, talk about another one bites the dust, kind of like sounds like the very same topic that Caitlyn Hunt, as well as myself, we were chatting about just before the break, of the coaches, the revolving door of SA football. What was your biggest down moment, though, when all was said and done? When you looked around, whether it had to do with your dad coaching, whether it had to do with yourself, where you were, but what would you say in SA football is that indicator that says, you know what, this was my down?
Sure, there's a lot, Rob. I think two moments stick out to me. I think when Wits was sold, that was hard. You know, there was a lot of emotion. It was during COVID. There was a lot of confusion and hurt. And I mean, the fact that the league was won, and it was hard. It wasn't easy, you know. And then obviously, I think the one that hit deep was obviously the Chiefs one.
Yeah.
You know, there was a lot of emotion. It was hard. I saw my dad at a very low moment, and we had to stick together, you know. And you know, besides football, and you know, it's a job at the end of the day, but you know, at the end of the day, we family and we stick together. And there's been a lot of low moments, but there's also been a lot of highs. So it comes with the football. It comes with the territory, you know.
But I mean, that disappointment would have disappointed us who've known him and his success. And maybe till today, I have no clue why things didn't work out there. Did you ever try and work it out? Because it was such a long-awaited appointment. People had been saying for years and years, this is where you need to go. This is where you'd really shine. And then he gets there, transfer is locked. You can't buy a single player. Can't do this, can't do that. Did you ever sit down and think, wait, where did it go wrong?
Yeah, it was a hard time. Obviously, it was COVID as well. There was a lot of uncertainty as well. And then obviously the appointment happened. I mean, we were all ecstatic. It was what we'd all wanted. You know, it was a big club, if we call it that now.
Yeah.
We were all so proud of him. It was a long time coming. And you know, we all wanted success. We all wanted to see big things happening, and it was sad what happened. To this day, I still don't know. We still ponder and we still think about it and what happened. But it's football. It's part of what happens, and you just move on to the next one, you know. All I know is he's a good coach. He knows what he's doing.
Yeah, well, I think given where the table is, and as far as SuperSport United, it showed. And, you know, the frustration when he got there, it was about the players, you know, a lot of young players, like of experienced kind of players, but he's been able to knuckle it down. But again, moving forward, as we start to wrap things up here, I know a lot of people watching on YouTube, so do follow, do listen, do watch. We are live on YouTube at 947 Joburg. Caitlyn Hunt is here with me, and Sundowns. There's just a gap that is there. They get crowned champions without kicking a ball over the weekend because of this extraordinary gap. Playing on the African continent, CAF Champions League, and they do well. You know, they would go and they would beat probably one of the most successful teams in Al Ahly of Egypt, and they do it, I won't say without breaking a sweat, but they do it very convincingly. And then there's almost like Sundowns and the rest. What do you think needs to be done to bridge that gap? Because one way or the other, that gap has to be bridged.
Yeah, it's hard to watch local football lately. It's kind of like people don't really care to watch it anymore because it's like, Sundowns will win the league. It's not competitive. And I always said when Wits was taken away, the league just became less competitive. Things just died away. And I just think there's such a big gap between Sundowns and the rest of the teams in terms of squad, money, and there's so many different factors, but yet, teams still manage to win games, to get close to them. So I think there's a lot that needs to be done. Things need to be made a bit more fair, I think, and I think we need to bring that competitive element back to the PSL. I mean, stadiums are not as full as they were before. There's certain things that are just, people don't want to watch local football anymore. So, I don't know, maybe the league needs to intervene. I don't know, maybe something else needs to be done. But, there needs to be more competitive teams. You want to see, the underdog teams. I've always been a fan of the underdog teams. You want to see the underdog teams doing well and challenging, and they do it too. They do it well as well, like in some games, but it's not consistent. You're not going to say, they're going to beat Sundowns or they're going to beat a big team. So, I don't know, hopefully we get some type of resolution going forward where the league becomes more competitive. I would love that. I really would love that. I agree 100% because, there's just that looking at Sundowns and you say, wow, what can we do? And there is a lot that can be done. And I don't even think it's about money. When you look at some of the teams that do well in the Nedbank Cup, unheard of. They don't even have the resources, but then they beat all the big names that are in the professional ranks. And you're saying, but if they can do it, then what about the teams that are getting such a lot of grant money coming through from their TV rights and et cetera, et cetera. So there's no shortage of money. They need to go and do something. Money is an excuse, I believe, for all of them. But Caitlyn, we could chat until tomorrow when it comes to this beautiful game. And you're right, Bidvest gone. We were saying off air, Bloemfontein Celtic gone. Santos, Jomo Cosmos. We don't know what's going to happen with Black Leopards. Those are teams that sit historically with a lot that is going on, and they bring and they've brought a lot to SA football. So hopefully they also don't go down the drain like the teams that we've mentioned. Maybe a final comment from you, all the human beings that are listening to you, that know that you're on the air right now. What do you want to say to them? Yeah, I just think that, football, people don't watch enough football in this country. I just want people to engage with the game, play the game, watch the game. The local game just needs so much more backing and support. I mean, the Premier League is watched by so many people, and I just, there needs to be so much more emphasis and so much more support and backing for football in this country. We've got the potential, we've got, the resources, we've got the players, you've got the coaches, but, we just need people to support us and back us. And, it takes one or two people to watch football, go to the games, and, I'm coaching, we're starting at the bottom. So, we're the ones that can make change. I've emphasized that big time. We can't complain about the football and we can't complain, but, go support the team, coach, help where you can. So, that's my final comment. Biokineticist as well as football coach, daughter to one of the greatest that we've seen here in South Africa. Caitlyn Hunt, thank you so much, man. Really enjoyed the interview and all the best on the coaching journey. Thank you for having me, Rob. Let's see where we end up. Yeah, we'll be
tracking and tracing your every move on the football front. Really love the interview. Thank you so much indeed for gracing our studios. Earlier on the extended part of hashtag MSW, we had a conversation with Sandile Zungu. He's the president of AmaZulu. And based on what has happened today, where Coach Faltz has now had to move into an advisory role, sure. And Ayanda Dlamini, who's been an assistant, takes charge. You know, he says there's 18 points at stake. Today, AmaZulu President Sandile Zungu announced the changes to the club's head coach. The role, the assistant coach, Ayanda Dlamini, being appointed the interim head coach, while Faltz has been redeployed to the role of technical director, advising the president on the technical aspects of AmaZulu's Vision 2032. Now, Mr. Sandile Zungu is on the line. Would you say these changes have been forced upon you, given where the team lies on the table? Good evening, sir.
Good evening, Madluputu.
Good to have you chatting to us. I know, as I said, probably a very busy day for you, but you've been kind of forced into making these changes.
Undoubtedly. You know, if you look at the performance of the team, you know, in recent weeks, you know, we've lost games that we should not have lost. The most recent game against Morocco Solos, they played very well. They were more determined than us to win the game. Lady luck didn't face our direction, you know. And obviously you have to look at the statistics as well. I mean, in the last 17 league games that Ferreira has been in charge, we've been collecting an average of 1.13 points per game. And, you know, if we project that to the next 6 games, you know, it's getting tougher. You know, and I have to play against Pirates, Arrows, Sundowns, Kukuni, Supersport, Cape Town City. Those are great teams, you know. It's getting very tough, and we are at the risk of not, you know, fulfilling our ambition of even playing in the MTN top 8 next season. And we needed to act fairly quickly to address that difficult situation.
The scenario, though, around the playing as well as the position on the table, from your assessment, what do you think has brought it about? Because this is a very exciting AmaZulu outfit. This is a very exciting team. In the early stages of Forhloza's reign, there were signs of that, but it has kind of completely gone out the door to re-establish that. And maybe somewhere, somehow, you would have noticed where the problem might be.
To be honest, you know, Rob, you know, it's a complex situation. It's not just about a coach. You know, when you feel that the players are not playing with the same passion that they used to display, and you know what these guys are capable of. But it doesn't help us to even try and analyze ad infinitum when we've got 6 games and 18 points to play for. We need to take decisions that will address the immediate challenge, which is about converting 90 minutes into points.
I know we don't have much time. We literally just got 4 minutes left. The issue around Ramahlam, I know that he had initially left the club. He was back in Johannesburg, and then just the other day he was back on a flight back again to Durban because he had been recalled. Please clarify what's happening with him.
My approach to players is I leave that to the technical team to manage it. The latest within Pahlele, I was talking to the coach just this afternoon to say what is the latest, you know, and he said that there's a sentiment within the team that he should come back and contribute towards the 18 points that we have to play for, but it's not an official statement from the technical team, because it was just a by the way issue. I will obviously need to summon them to get a proper response on the player issues. But my attitude is very simple. You know, all hands on deck, and everyone must play for the badge of AmaZulu, and we expect these 18 points to be hard fought for. And I think we have the capacity as AmaZulu to convert all those 18 points to the bag. It's not going to be easy, not guaranteed, but we have that potential.
Mr. President, good luck. Thank you so much, Baba, and I appreciate the time.
Thank you so much for inviting me, and good evening.
Yeah, the president of AmaZulu earlier on Marawa Sports Worldwide, just giving us the lowdown on what has happened at the club. Right, quickly changing gears now, because, I mean, something that you and I can call despicable, because there's been a massive allegation at TTM recently, a coach spitting on a player. There were charges that were laid at DC that had come through. We're going to get down to the bottom of this disturbing allegation. on how a very respected coach kind of came to this. Mind you, this man has been around the touchline for a very long time. Coach Johnny Ferreira joins me tonight to take us through what has happened. Coach, thank you so much for your time. Good evening.
Good evening, Robert, and good evening to the listeners.
Would you say right now, what is your current status? Are you attached to any football team right now?
No, not at all. We had a hearing last week on Tuesday. The verdict came out guilty of assault, and there was instant dismissal without compensation. And that's the last time we've approached any of these issues. Yeah.
So the assault in this instance would be the spitting incident.
Well, I think we've got to get away from this, the word spitting, Robert.
Yeah.
Going back to the 16th of February when the offence actually occurred, and it's not the first time I've done this in the last 30 years. In actual fact, I've done that to some of the most well-known, famous national First Division players as recently as September, October, November last year down in Louis Trichardt. Namely Muketsi Sekola, Eden Nene, Isasa, but it was a prank. It's a prank that unfortunately has gone wrong, and it involves me using the last bit of water in a water bottle that I've been drinking from in a practice session with over 95, 100 minutes. And on this particular day, I did put water in my mouth. Somebody made me laugh. In actual fact, one of the senior players made me laugh. And of course, I sprayed this water out of my mouth onto the head and or face of a young player by the name of Caitlyn Hunt, if I'm not mistaken. So it was a prank. It's a prank and a light-hearted moment that I've used over the last 30 years. Unfortunately, it offended the player, and I took immediate steps to rectify that. He reported the incident to his father. The father suggested he report it to the club, which he did. The club took issue with it, and rightly so. And going back to the 3rd of March, I sat with the player, and we called the father in his presence, and I apologized profusely to the player and his father, confirming that there was no malice, there was no intent. Unfortunately, the club ran the narrative that there was a dispute between the player and I, and therefore I lost my temper and spat at the player. Another radio station ran the same story. No, spitting is a horrible, disgusting, despicable word, as you said, Robert.
Yeah.
And I've never spat at anybody. I never will. Specifically at a black person. I know the sensitivities in this country. I've been around long enough.
Yeah.
So it's very unfortunate that it's come out like that. I'd like the people that have followed my career, whether it's one person or 600,000, I'd like them to respect that I wouldn't do that to anybody, not to a dead dog lying in the street. So unfortunately, the club took action. I've got two legal opinions. The one says the dismissal was fair based on the allegation. The other legal opinion says it wasn't fair. So we might take this on review. And, the fact that there's dismissal with no compensation, I think there's a legal loophole there, but I'm not going to elaborate on that too much at this point. I think just right now,
you feel that there are legal grounds that you could exploit. All right, let's park it there. When we come back from the break, Johnny, we'll pick up on exactly that. And also, when you talk about a prank, what exactly does that mean? Because we might not be plugging a particular gap here, so that you are given a chance to clear the air.
Marawa Sports Worldwide Live. In 3, 2, 1. On 947, Vuma FM, Rise FM, and Soweto Live. #MSW.
Deal or No Deal is the game show everyone is talking about.
If you're lucky enough to take the Deal or No Deal stage with me, Katleho, you'll get a chance to win up to 250,000 Rand in cash. Watch me play Deal or No Deal on SABC1 at 7:30 p.m. and on SABC3 at 5:30 every weekday. To enter, SMS the word PLAY to 43066. Standard SMS rates apply. Deal or No Deal is sponsored by Lotto Star.
Lotto Stars, licensed by the Mpumalanga Economic Regulator. No under 18s. National Responsible Gambling Program. 0800 006 008. T's and C's apply. All games are fixed odds betting events.
Calling all chocolate lovers to stop by Sandton City's decadent Chocolate Cafe Speckled Edition to indulge in the sweetest treats this Easter. The Chocolate Cafe is back, and from 30 March to 10 April, you can shop your favorite iconic chocolate brands with fun for the whole family and kids' activities every day between 10 a.m. and 6 p.m., including Easter egg decoration, cookies, and chocolate galore. See you in Sandton City's Centre Court for the sweetest speckled Easter yet.
How can I get paid easily? If you're in business, you've asked yourself this. At FNB, there's a way for everyone to get paid, and you get to choose. Receive payments using SpeedPoint, or use Speedy QR to generate a scannable QR code on the FNB app. Your customers can even pay using their card or phone directly on your compatible Android smartphone when you use Speedy app. Your business needs payments, so join the changeables and get the help you need. FNB is a division of First Rand Bank Limited, an authorized financial services and credit provider. T's and C's apply.
Welcome to Hacks with Mac, Extreme First Home Edition. Starting out, it's tough. So here's a really clever tip for you. Take Gogo out to buy groceries. Put 2 of everything in the trolley, 1 for her and 1 for you, and get them all at a pensioner's discount. Look at you, clever manual. Another really clever tip for you, for your laundry, use Mac washing powder. It works really hard on tough stains, so it saves you time and money. You're welcome. Mac shine on.
Go far in the Hyundai Venue 1 litre turbo. Get your 2021 Venue 1 litre turbo and enjoy low mileage, 5-year remaining warranty and remainder of service plan. From only 3,699 Rand per month. Visit hyundai.co.za for more. 72-month term, 12.5% linked interest rate, 35% balloon payment, on-road costs excluded. Brought to you by Hyundai Finance, a division of Nedbank Limited, an authorized financial services and registered credit provider.
Ever looked into the eye of your loved one and wanted to really mean it when you sing, I can show you the world? Well, now's your chance. Thanks to TravelStart and MasterCard, you can enjoy a world of affordable flights with up to 30% off your trip. That's every time you book on TravelStart. It's love at first flight.
Marawa Sports Worldwide.
We do have the president of AmaZulu Football Club, Usandile Zungu.
In the team at AmaZulu, with our ambitions, no one can just rest on his laurels and say, we performed well last year, we're not relegated, we're in the top 8, then we should be happy. No. We're not going to be happy. AmaZulu is the top quartile team. If we just continue doing things the same way, we'll have probably ended up with 37 points. That's just not good enough for AmaZulu, which achieved 54 points last season. You cannot allow AmaZulu brand to be trashed and to be playing second fiddle to anybody. It's going to be the latter, because it makes sense. The latter thing, we've got to bring in someone independent to take us through to the end of the season. Who can get this crop of players to perform at their optimal level, to prove who they are. They've got pedigree. They can do it. And they must do it.
Marawa Sports Worldwide. Monday to Friday weekdays.
Yeah, it is Monday to Friday. It is weekdays. It is hashtag MSW on 947. Also live on Sowetan Live, Vuma FM and Rise FM. Do send us your WhatsApp voice notes if you're part and parcel of this conversation right now. Johnny Ferreira is here in studio. I know that he had previously made a public apology about what has happened. The charge that came through from TTM was that of assault on the 16th of the 2nd, 2023 at the Heidedal training field, where they were saying that you allegedly spit saliva and water from your mouth onto the face of the TTM player, Mokhantle Katleho. And the ID number of the player is known to us as well. But as you were saying, just to clarify so that there's no misunderstanding, when you talk about a prank that you've done many years or for 30 years, as you were saying. What constitutes that prank? Is that of the water in the mouth and then, chugging it out?
No, it doesn't only involve water in the mouth, Robert. It involves the last bit of water in a water bottle that I've been drinking from in the previous 95 minutes during the practice session. And as per normal, with these a lot of the NFD clubs, we don't always have conditioning coaches to stretch these players once they've completed their session. And I've, as a general rule, taken a lot of those stretching exercises with the players. So all the major muscle groups from the waist down, we stretch them lying down, i.e. whether it's on the stomach or whether it's on the back. And whatever water I've got left in my water bottle, I throw it in the sky, pretend it's raining. Everybody has a laugh. And even on this particular day, majority of the players were laughing, did laugh, made me laugh. And I've seen it as a prank. I've seen it as a funny moment to just to relieve and get back down to a state of relaxation after the 90-minute session, as it were. And once we've stood up off the ground, we huddle together. We reflect on the training session, what we could have done differently, what we did well, what we didn't do well, whether we enjoyed it. And these guys are standing within maybe a 5, 6, 7 meter radius, all huddled together before we say a prayer. And that's taken place over the last 30 years religiously on a daily basis. But clearly this young man didn't see the funny side of it.
But do you understand why he didn't, though? Do you understand it from his side?
100%.
Yeah.
100%, Robert. And therefore, I spoke to him on the 3rd of March. Once I discovered that he'd made an allegation and put out a statement to the club. And as I said, his father is very unhappy. I spoke to his father in the presence of the son and I think it was the goalkeeper coach at that point. And I apologized. I said, gee whiz, I'm sorry, guys. I'm sincerely sorry. So in the bigger scheme of things, Robert, if it's offended somebody, I've got to make sure that doesn't happen again. And I'll make sure that doesn't happen again. Whether I believe it's a funny moment or not. It's offended one person, it's maybe one person too many. So I also think it's maybe been drawn out of proportion a little bit. But
would you say the racism allegation was drawn out of proportion? Because, like I said, you've been here in South Africa coaching for many years, and predominantly you've been coaching black players.
Yeah. So over the last 20 years, mainly 99% black players, Robert. And I've never had an incident of racism. It was very sad for me to look about 2 weeks ago how the club drove that narrative where there was a possibility of discrimination based on racism. And it was very, very far from the truth, extremely far from the truth. And I want to make it clear to the soccer public, specifically the National First Division that I've been campaigning in the last 20 years, that I wouldn't do it. I despise it. And the word spitting just in itself is a despicable word. So I've stuck with the phrase that I've sprayed water from my mouth. And, the irony of the first allegation came that I spat at somebody, which in itself is a serious allegation. The second charge to appear in front of the hearing came, we spat saliva and water. So I don't know how you separate saliva and water, unless you go to CSR and they get a scientist to prove what is saliva in a bottle and what is water. But the irony of this water, saliva, at a club like TTM, you have got, let's say, 30 players. 30 players where there's 30 bottles of water that is filled up regularly during the session. Certainly not bottled still or spring water. It comes out of the tap.
Yeah.
Now, those players don't have, at TTM specifically, those players don't have numbered or named bottles. So you drink from anybody's bottle. Okay. And so you're sweating. There's a lot of perspiration involved in a football training session, as you know. So every time you stop after 15 or 20 minutes for a water break, you just take any bottle. Now, there's a lot of saliva and there's a lot of water that's going between your mouth, the bottle, somebody else's bottle. So, yeah, I found it a little bit unnecessary, when you consider that the hygiene or the hygienic element of water bottles is not adhered to in a 90-minute training session. But it's an issue.
I mean, if I play devil's advocate, one would also equally probably say the same of you, Johnny, and say even post-COVID, you should know that spitting or getting whatever out of your mouth, whatever word you want to use, would also not sit well, would also give the same indication as the analogy you've given now about the water bottles. So there would be not much difference there. But here's an important question that's come through from Futingala on Twitter. It says, was there any misunderstanding between the player and the coach before? So was there a bit of history between the two of you, yourself as well as Mokhantle Katlego?
No, never.
At all?
At all, never.
What about the club? So I'm trying to find reason with the terminology that they've used. Also, the attachment of the racism charge as well to you was the club in effect wanting to get rid of you for whatever reason?
I think on reflection, it sounds and looks like there was a motivation from the club to get rid of me. Not because of that.
Yeah, I'm just saying even before, whatever incident had happened, were you heading towards a fallout to the club, whether it was results-driven or whether it was personality-driven?
Okay, I don't know. On the personality side, I can't tell you.
Yeah.
On the results side, if you look at the results and you look at the points that TTM have accumulated over the last 25 matches, they're sitting on 20 points. I think out of those 20 points, 17 points would have been accumulated with me as the head coach out of the 20 that they've got currently. And I don't know if there was a personality thing. If it was results driven and results was the ultimate scenario for and normally is when coaches get dismissed, but that has never been discussed with me, not before I went to Black Leopards or when I returned from Black Leopards. So I just think there was an ulterior motive. That's only my opinion, and it's as simple as that.
But your legal team firmly believes, as you were saying before the break, that there is just cause in you taking this on appeal or on review.
No, we'll take it on review. Absolutely. Yeah, we, as I said, the two legal opinions. One says the dismissal was fair. Other one says it wasn't fair. The fact that they made a determination about not being compensated. Those are legal issues that I can't answer, Robert.
But were you owed money before the incident?
Yes, I was. The reason I left TTM back in November was because of unpaid salaries, 1 or 2 months. I don't have the factual exact payments now.
Yeah.
But some months half pay, 1 or 2 months weren't paid. So that was the reason I left. It was just instability, financial instability. And I was told that on the 23rd of January when I had a bit of a dispute with the people at Black Leopards that I must come back as quickly as possible. There's the salaries are secure, and there'll be no waiting period for the salaries. And I say this out of respect to TTM, Robert.
Yeah.
You must remember, after 6 games, we were first on the table, the National First Division table, and from there on it was a free fall. Your most experienced players, i.e. Sekola, Isasa, Eden Nene, Innocent Mkabela, those players, they've got no different to the younger players. They've got families to feed, and the club's results were just went into complete free fall, and they are sitting at the moment where they're sitting right now. I think as a result of that poor planning that didn't take place or did take place.
I mean, as much as you feel sorry for the players, which is always a despicable thing to do, we've dealt with players and unpaid salaries that have come through. But I remember, and we had to respect the fact that you were not able to chat to us. So it's been a long time coming, also waiting. Then the club sort of relocated, we were told, down to Bloemfontein. I don't know what the final status is regarding that. And on your supposed trip back to Joburg from Bloem, you had no other means but to take a bus or public transport to come back.
Yep. Sorry, Robert. I was suspended on full pay. That was the allegation, and that was the charge sheet. But they removed the car immediately. They got me out of the accommodation immediately. Whether that's legal or not, I don't know. I don't hassle too much about things like that, unfortunately.
But they're important, though. I mean, I don't even know if you had a contract with TTM.
Well, I had a contract up until November, and when I rejoined them on the 23rd or 24th of January, there was no written contract. The figures, the undertaking or the obligation from the club was a lot less than the previous figures that I had from August to November. So there's a few legal issues there. I'm sure that the legal people will try to get to the bottom of that.
Sanele Goodenough says that I would like to believe the coach. Pardon my stubbornness. I think it's a personal reason. TTM has got internal problems judging from all of this. Where does this leave you now, Coach? Have you thought of your next move as we wrap up this conversation? Because there's a lot you've gone through. There's a lot you've had to face. But right now you have a future. What is it?
No, absolutely. I've always got a future. As long as I'm healthy, Robert, I've got a great future in this country in terms of football. As long as I can add value to a young African kid's life, or any colour for that matter, I will continue to do that. And I'm almost inclined to suggest that the next club that employs me, and there's a few clubs that I've spoken to already, the next club that employs me is the club that's going to get promotion. That's my biggest ambition right now. My biggest dream, even at my age, is to get a club promoted from the NFD to the PSL.
You're 65 now?
65 indeed.
Oh, that's young. That's football young. Hey? Which team would you have an appetite to coach? Your desire? Just give me a name.
Okay, if I'm looking at the 16 teams in the NFD right now, of course I don't know who's coming up from the Vodacom, and I don't know who's coming down from the PSL. But that team, Kazrick's All-Stars, and I know that Kazrick Stars, I beg your pardon.
Yes.
I know they've got a fantastic coaching structure there. Thabo Ntete, Mayoyo, the goalkeeper coach. I would think Kazrick Stars on the right track. And I tell you who keeps knocking on the door and failing at the final hurdle is JDR. Very impressed with Mr. Namasisi at JDR with his ownership coaching skills.
So you'll be back here soon to tell us about that. I know you've had to make a trip from Pretoria just to be here. I respect that. I respect you honouring in your presence this conversation. It's been that important that we have you in studio. There's one thing about being on the phone, and there's another thing being physically present. Johnny Ferreira, I thank you, and we'll keep tracking exactly what happens with you.
Thank you, sir.
I appreciate it.
Marawa Sports Worldwide Live. In 3, 2, 1. On 947, Vuma FM, Rise FM, and Soweto Live. #MSW.